Hi, I'm Meg. Welcome to plantfitmeg. Welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about what to do when you mess up, when you sort of go off track and things don't go quite your way, and how to get back to the path you want to be on and to continue towards your goals. This happened to me recently, and as a coach and as someone online, sometimes it's hard to admit that I'm struggling or that I'm having a hard time or that I messed something up, that I didn't execute my plan. And there's this pressure that I put on myself to do all the things and do it well. And so I think it's important for everyone to talk about these challenges and talk about the struggles and the things that come up and how to overcome them and how to be okay and be kind to yourself and move forward and really go for your goals and not give up. So I hope that this video is helpful to you. I hope that maybe you can relate or get some inspiration or motivation from it. If you end up liking this video and you enjoy videos like this in general, remember to give the video a like and leave me a comment below letting me know. And let's get right into it. I personally got into eating a little bit more processed foods and just overeating generally more than I planned a little while back. And I was sick, I was injured, there were many things going on, many stressors, many reasons. And I had a plan and I didn't fully execute it well. So I think step one here is plan ahead and be realistic about what is doable with your plan. Consider what might come up and do your best to navigate through those challenges ahead of time rather than dealing with it in the moment. You can't anticipate everything, but the more you can kind of have an idea of what might be coming, the better prepared you'll be and the easier it will be to cope with and make the decisions you want to make. I'm going to make a video shortly all about my goals and more detail about what is actually going on with me, so stay tuned for that as well. So you've planned ahead, you've made a reasonable plan, and then for some reason things just don't go according to plan and you aren't able to execute it the way that you want to. Get curious, consider, why did I make that choice? What was going on with me internally? What were my thoughts, feelings? What was my mindset like? And also what's going on externally. So what circumstances happened that maybe had you taking a different course? What was the environment like? Who were you with? What was the context? What was going on? In answering these questions, you can gain more information and more data about why you made the choice that you made and where you kind of took a wrong turn or took a little detour. If you've watched the channel before, you've probably heard me mention the car analogy that I like to use, where you're on track, you're going down the path, you're working towards your goals, and then you hit a little gravel or you hit a little bump in the road, something happens, and sometimes you take a really big detour and you end up sort of really veering away from where you want to go, but eventually you come back to the path and you continue, and the sooner that you can get back to it and the smaller blip or bump that it is, the better. So the sooner you can kind of realize what's going on, have that awareness, and then sort of question and get curious, and rather than being really hard on yourself, just consider what is going on, why you made the choice you made, and what could you maybe do differently the next time around. Related to getting curious about the situation and the context of why things happened the way that they did, ask yourself, how can I manage the above? So maybe it's just a matter of communicating better with the people that you're with. If it's spending time with family or friends or work colleagues, maybe it's just a matter of communicating in a different way and maybe giving them a heads up about your dietary plans or about certain restrictions you have, or that you'll be bringing food with you or eating beforehand. You can also work on your mindset. So if it's not so much a communication with others situation and it's more of a mindset situation, then that's internal work that needs to be done to focus on where was my mind at in that moment and what made me act against what I really want and where I really want to go, and navigating through your mindset and really turning it around and making it so that your actions are in line with your goals, at least most of the time, so that you build that confidence and that competence to continue to get to where you want to go and make the progress you want to make. Another thing is more logistical. Maybe you could plan or prepare a little bit differently. Like I mentioned with communicating with others, maybe you eat before you go, or maybe you bring food with you. There are different ways that you can sort of plan and anticipate in different ways that can set you up for success. And the other thing is stress management. I think we can all use a little bit of stress management, and there are so many different ways to manage stress. Even just sitting with your eyes closed and just breathing. Just take a deep breath with me. Let's just all pause for a moment while we're on our screens and just take a deep breath. And just taking one deep breath. It might be the deepest breath that you take all day, because obviously we're breathing all day, but we're not thinking consciously of our breath and what it's like. So if you can pause, take a deep breath, take 5, it can ground you and calm you and give you that moment to pause to consider what choice you're going to make next. Another great way to set yourself up for success is to do your decision making ahead of time. When you're making your plan, sort of make the decisions ahead of time so that you don't end up with that decision fatigue in the moment and constantly wondering, am I going to say yes? Am I going to say no? Am I going to do this? Am I going to do that? Because over time that can really wear you down, and the more decisions that you have to make, the harder it can be to stick to your plan and stick to what you actually want to do. Really quickly, other stress management techniques could be listening to some music, moving your body, whether it's just walking or just like bouncing a little bit, or any kind of like dancing, any kind of movement can be helpful. Doing a gentle stretch or doing some yoga, meditation, talking it out with someone you trust, doing a calming activity like reading or coloring or sewing, knitting, any kind of activity that's calming. I like to paint my nails sometimes. I find that sort of a relaxing thing to do. Managing stress is really important, and it can be really helpful in those more difficult moments of making those decisions to help keep your stress levels down so that you're more well equipped to make decisions that you want to make. My next tip is to think about, what have you learned from the experience? So what can you take away from it? What are some positives that you can pull from the experience? And what would you do differently the next time? Thinking about and writing down what you've learned and what you'll do differently the next time around can really help you set yourself up for success for the next time that you're in maybe a bit of a difficult situation. Be compassionate and be kind to yourself. So if you take a wrong turn or you have a misstep, you have maybe a meal that you weren't thrilled with, or you miss a workout, or whatever the case may be kind to yourself. Acknowledge that you are a human, you are not a robot, and we all make mistakes and stuff happens. And as long as we're learning from it and growing from it and making different choices the next time that are in line with our goals so we can make progress and get to where we want to go, then we're golden. At that point, we're sort of turning a fail into a win by learning and growing from it. Something I also tell my clients all the time, and I had to remind myself of, is be Elsa, let it go. So once you've already made the decisions, it's done, you've maybe eaten more processed food than you wanted, or whatever the case may be, it's done. Let it go. It happened. Move forward. Focus on the next choice you're going to make and what you want to do moving forward. What's your next meal or snack going to look like? What is your next training session going to look like? And when is it going to be? Schedule it in, make a plan. Also remember that progress is a win. So what I mean by this is sometimes we get really caught up in, this is the plan. This is the optimal, ideal, perfect plan, and this is what I'm going to do. And if I go anywhere outside of that, it's a fail and it's terrible. But what we sometimes forget to recognize is that a perfect plan is useless without being able to execute it. So a perfect plan, not that perfect exists, but if an optimal plan were to potentially exist, if it's not possible to actually do the thing and execute it and sustain it, then it's not a good plan and it's not helpful. And any step in the right direction is a good one. So consider having multiple plans. Doesn't have to be anything complicated or too thought-provoking or too difficult, but just have a plan A, a plan B, and a plan C. All of them are wins. All of them will be in line with your goals and in line with making progress. One is just a little bit more optimal, and the other couple are a little bit less optimal, but still a win, still making progress, still good. Plan A, B, or C, or you can also think of it as good, better, best. That way you don't have this narrow definition of what's optimal and needing to hit that exact thing. You have a little bit more leeway and you can still win and succeed and do really well with that. Another thing I want to mention about making progress is that any improvement over time is a win. So for example, the holidays can be really tricky, and if you typically go all out and eat all of the things and don't feel well afterwards, taking it down a notch is a step in the right direction, whatever that looks like for you. The other thing is that going off track over time will look different depending on what stage you're in and what your goals are. So me going off track back in the day was probably a bit more dramatic and a bit more intense based on my habits back then than going off track now with my current habits that I've developed over many years. So know that it does get easier over time as you build habits and routines. And it's not easy, but getting back on track definitely does get easier over time. Another thing is to really know yourself and know what works well for you. I know with some of my clients, and even for myself in the past, there have been times when I just have avoided processed food completely. And it's just been like, I'm not interested, I don't want it, I'm just going to avoid it completely. And for a while, that worked really well for me. In a certain season of my life, that worked really well. And for some of my clients in certain time periods, certain phases, that works really well. For other folks, that might be a recipe for disaster and a recipe for sort of a very restrictive mindset and then a binge cycle later. So it's really about coming to it with a healthy mindset and considering why you're thinking the way you're thinking and why you're choosing to take the actions that you're taking and why you're making the plans that you're making as well. This can take some trial and error, and that is absolutely okay. That is absolutely acceptable. Take some time to experiment with different things, see what works well for you, see what doesn't, learn from it, grow, and move forward. We're all humans, nobody's perfect, and we are all continuously learning and growing and improving and being better versions of ourselves. And no one has it all figured out. We're all just kind of bumbling around and doing our best. Getting back on track, it gets a lot easier over time and with practice and with the consistency of always coming back to the path, even if there's a little bump or a little gravel or bad weather or whatever the case may be, always just returning to that path, and you keep going, you keep making progress, you continue with that consistency, and it's not 100% perfect, and that is okay. You can still make wonderful progress, be consistent, and get to where you want to go. And I can do the same thing. I think it's important to share the difficulties, share my experience, and I'm hoping that you can learn from it, maybe avoid some mistakes that I've made, or maybe you can relate to some of the mistakes I've made, and now you're going to learn and grow and get better and improve and maybe be inspired, maybe be motivated from this video. I'd love to hear about your experience with maybe going off track and sort of coming back and how you did that. I love interacting with you in the comments section, and I'm always very lonely when I don't get a lot of comments. So I would really, really appreciate it if we could continue the conversation in the comments section if you want. I mean, no pressure. If you're busy or if you have other things to do, fair enough. But I hope you enjoyed this video. If you got anything from it, please give the video a like and subscribe to the channel for more. As you might know, I'm posting a new video every day for the month of May, so check out my Everyday in May playlist if you've missed any of my videos over the last little bit. I hope you're having a great day. Be kind to yourself, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.